loading snacks.
What it do, Loading Snacks universe? Your boy Jokes is here. I got the homie Gage, I got the homie Sin, and it is time for another edition of Spoiler Boys.
Spoiler Boys.
In this edition of Spoiler Boys, we are here to talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. The Black Panther. We've been waiting for this to drop for some time now. We all, of course, crew's gone to see it. And I know you guys are waiting to hear our opinions. Before we go ahead and jump into the story or anything about it, we're gonna do the typical. We're gonna go around the room and we're gonna feel out and see what people think. Sin, I'm gonna start with you. What would you give Wakanda Forever?
I would give Wakanda Forever a 9.
Gage.
I give it like a 7.
7.
Maybe an 8. I think it's sitting at a 7, about a 7 for me.
Sin, I share your opinion of the 9. I there's some things to pull it down from being a perfect 10, but overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So let's not waste any time. Let's just jump into this. The movie kicks off, and like we're wondering how we're gonna work through the elephant in the room of the missing T'Challa, and they address that as soon as the movie comes on. And clearly, my man is sick, and Shuri in her laboratory trying to work through and figure out how she can help her brother. We see her have like DNA chains, like virtual DNA chains up in the middle of her lab, and it's like she's working through elements of the DNA and trying to find a cure for this sickness that T'Challa has. As she's going through, she's not getting the results that she wants, and she's constantly asking. She has her own AI currently right now, asking the status of like what's my brother's heart rate, what's going on right now, and she's working. She's got a team in there. She has a full team trying to figure out what is going on with T'Challa. And we're all hoping, still sitting there, we're all hoping for the best. But of course, Queen Ramonda herself shows up in Shuri's lab. And when she shows up, I mean, we pretty much all knew what the message was going to be. And of course, she asked her AI one more time, what is her brother's heart rate? And of course, it was just silence. And of course, we learned T'Challa, of course, had passed. So they wasted no time in hitting us with the quick gut punch. And that moment in itself, like, even though we knew, of course, obviously that was going to be the thing, it was still a little bit hard to still hear those words actually come out of the mouth of any character in the movie. How did y'all feel about that beginning part of the opening scene? Gage, I'll start with you.
I mean, I think it probably set the tone in terms of like the panic, right? The rush that she's in that, this is exactly what I predicted it would be. Mm-hmm. We talked about this. This is literally exactly what I said it was going to be. He's going to have cancer or something like that, and the heart-shaped herb was keeping him alive, or was keeping him healthy, or was going to keep him healthy, and now it's not there because Killmonger burned it. Literally, that's word for word what I said was going to be what I thought they would do with this, and I you know, she's in the she's trying to recreate
Yep.
the herb. She's not trying to quote unquote find a cure. She's trying to replicate the herb, which you know, again, I think it probably puts us in her mindset, right? Where she is, how she solves problems. She problem solves through technology, right? And even in the moments where she's being told, hey, princess, you should probably go be by his side right now. She kicks everybody out. Because she can't think. And she doesn't know how. You know, there are parts of, I think that this is a different Shuri than the Shuri we got in the first movie. And I think they set that tone in this right in the beginning. She doesn't know how to commune with people. She's more comfortable with tech and with AI and so forth than it seems like she is with people, even though she seems to like understand trends and stuff like that. Like I think even all of that she gets through tech. She's not good at the physical social pieces of it. She's good at like the internet social pieces of it. And yeah, I mean I think it was a brilliant way to, you have to deal with it right in the beginning, right? You can't act like he's off somewhere doing missions and stuff like that or whatever. I honestly think the way that it's handled, wow. Unfortunately for us, put us right back where we were when we all found out he passed, because nobody knew Chadwick was sick to begin with, right? He just like suffered in silence. And they basically did the same thing in this, that like he as a character, as a person, as T'Challa, chose to do the same thing.
Exact thing. And that was
I'm
the
sick.
way they wrote
I know I'm sick, but I got stuff I gotta do. You know what I mean? Like there's this stuff that's gotta get done because it's important, right? And it's important for me and it's important for my people. And that to me just echoed Chadwick so beautifully.
So I heard somewhere about that, Jays, that apparently Ryan Coogler reached out to the family about portraying like the real stuff that happened to him, all that stuff.
Yeah.
In the theater, they had to be able to do that opening scene and everything, and have it when he passes in it the same way kind of he passed in life and mirror that and everything. So, yeah.
I mean, I think it just is. I think it was beautiful. It was a wrenching moment. You know what I mean? Right in the beginning, because I'm gonna tell you right now, that the Marvel opening crawl is the best opening crawl I have ever seen. It was just,
it's not having the music behind it. That's what
the music, the silence,
it
all
was,
purple, only images of him. It was just fun.
I could feel everybody in the theater when that was happening, when that Marvel
exactly, bro.
We could all feel.
We were all in that same.
Yeah.
You know, nobody. You wanted to let out that gasp, like you knew it was like.
It was a masterpiece moment.
But everybody, you know, everyone's in my theater at least, sheer and utter silence. It was just like that moment.
Yeah.
The only other time I've ever felt that, sitting in a theater period, but especially in an MCU film, was at the end of Infinity War. When he passed, like when he turned into, like when you see Okoye reaching for him, and like everybody just was gone, everybody got dusted.
We had just got Black Panther
completely silent. It was just silent, and that's the way the theater was. A packed 3 p.m. theater.
Same here.
The day before you know what I mean? Like it was utterly silent, and I know people were crying. It was that kind of silent. Like I know people were crying, and like you couldn't even hear that. Like it was just like, what was going on with her, whatever. Yeah, but just that opening crawl, and like that was like that's a masterpiece moment for me, straight up.
Yeah,
That's a moment that I will always remember.
Same.
Sitting in a theater, that is a theater moment for me, straight up. Like they're
Agreed.
Sitting in a theater, everybody quiet, just watching it, and you're literally just trying to like see all the moments. You're trying to actually watch all the moments. Like I never am able to look at all the little moments in the different letters and stuff like that where they are. In this, I was like completely
through each one of them. Like it was hard to digest. It's like just sitting there watching it. It was hard. Sin, I know we kind of already, but
no, I ain't gonna lie. Gage hit the nail on the head for a lot that I felt the same way. Like how it just opened up the chaos that's ensuing. We know what's about to happen the second Shuri walks into it. Okay, here we go. They're about to, do his death on the screen and how they're going to do this. And I thought they did it great. And I also loved seeing where Shuri's character arc starts in that beginning one. With the way this opens up to how she just evolves throughout the movie and everything. I loved it. Like we just talked about, opening crawl, brilliant. And the opening was
beautifully done.
Yeah, it was beautifully done. It coming out the gate, we're gonna address the elephant in the room. Let's get, as we're thinking, let's get all of the emotions before we start this train run. Not knowing they're gonna hit us a few times, throughout the film, but
good.
Yeah. So no, the way it opens up is brilliant. It's just brilliant the way it opens up.
Agreed. And of course, after we do get to see the funeral that they have for T'Challa, vibranium coffin, Wakanda Forever with the Black Panther logo on it. Give him the proper send off. It was a hard moment to digest, but they did a very good job at it. After the funeral, of course, was completed, we did find out there is a time jump. It's only a year, but it does move the MCU timeline forward again, at least within the movie, of course, a year's time. And
because you don't really know when that's happening,
right?
Like you don't know what else is going on when that's happening in Wakanda, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. So at least within the time, we know at least after that happened, another year passed. So I'm sure somehow eventually maybe it'll be a timeline thing will be addressed, but as far as at least we're a year in the future. When we come back, we're out in the ocean. Pretty sure, yeah, we're out in the ocean. The mission is going down, and it's like they're searching for vibranium. Somehow, this machine has been created that can actually go through and detect vibranium. Go figure that someone outside of Wakanda, Tony Stark, of course, is not around anymore, is able to develop a machine that can locate vibranium. And the interesting piece of the fact is the vibranium that was actually found by the machine nowhere near the land of Wakanda. So that was a little interesting piece that we learned of it. And searching for vibranium, of course, the divers that go down, they're doing their status updates. Nothing crazy, just the typical checking in, getting deeper, pressure is fine, everything is in the green. And once they get down there and discover the vibranium and see it, all the power lights and things start to go out. So, they're kind of flying blind right now. And no one's thinking anything serious. It's like, okay, malfunction. Talking to person back up top. Nope, I can fix it up here. No worries. One of the divers looks around. Partner's missing. And, they're asking the question, like up top, they notice that their vitals disappeared. They're just gone. She turns and looks, and there's nothing but like the wire that was holding on to the suit, keeping them in check to be able to keep track of everything. And then not that far afterwards, she sees something. Of course, she lets out a loud scream, but before anything can really be realized, she got yoinked up as well too. So at this point, both divers are gone. We go back to the bridge of the ship that they had reported to or whatnot ever, and all of a sudden we have these figures that just start popping their heads up out of the water, and they're letting off this tune song,
like a siren song or something.
Siren song, whatever you want to call it. And initially, at first I thought that was, I don't know about you guys, I thought that was the act, like somewhat of the music or whatever, the ominence of what they were trying to develop for us to see. But actually, these are these guys making these noises, these sounds coming from them. Yeah. And it's putting everybody that's in the distance of hearing it into these trances. And they're just walking off the ship and essentially jumping to their doom into these cold waters. They finally, of course, make it up onto the ship. The couple that had been monitoring the divers, they realize, this is an attack. They have like some hearing blocker things, ear, whatever you want to call them, like headphones put in.
Earplugs, bro. Earplugs.
I'm sure they have some fancy
hearing blocker things.
No, she said, here's some earplugs.
Oh, she said,
yeah.
Hey, listen, I feel like them things should have some other type of fancy name to them. Like, I don't know. They got some AirPods. Whatever.
Earplugs.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to say AirPods. Like, I don't know why. It's just a natural statement. So they're good. They come out. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They see one of their members like walking. They're trying to, get his attention right quick. He ain't paying attention. So the guy shoots one in the air, and it pulls him out of the trance. Honestly, didn't matter. We have our guys outside in the water. They jump up on the ship and just throw a spear to my man, and he just eats it in the wall. And I mean, this was a serious, inhuman, superhuman strength type of throw of this spear that just impales them on the wall. They try to escape. They get in a helicopter, fly off. One of the for now I'm just gonna say one of the creatures. Just at the time, you don't know who these characters are. Throws like a spear with like a wire attached to it and actually hook the helicopter and essentially start wheeling it back until the point the helicopter crashes.
What?
But that's
hold on. What you talking about?
Nope.
That did not happen, sir.
Or was it like a wire?
A wire? It was a Namor.
Yeah.
Namor
he grabbed it from behind,
grabbed the back of the ship, and spun that joint around.
spun it like Petey Pablo.
They threw something.
Yeah,
excuse
literally
me.
spin it like a hell.
Because I saw him. No, I saw him afterwards, and I could have turned my head for a quick second. I saw him afterwards, just in the sky, like.
Yeah, they did throw something at it, but like, nah,
yeah.
like,
okay,
nah. They were like, "What's going on? Something's holding us back."
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
It was Namor out there in North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
I probably
straight up
because I knew I saw something being thrown, and I think my mind automatically assumed that whatever was thrown hit it, and that was what was causing it. But
Slim, you blink.
I definitely
man with the winged toes, with the winged feet.
But after he did that, then we see the silhouette of Namor up there. Of course, wings on the ankles. I mean, you already know who it is. But that pretty much ends the scene there. Afterwards, now of course, we go back to Wakanda. Now we're kind of Shuri is. I don't want to say she's dealing with the grief, like it's a year afterwards, but she's pretty much put herself into her work, and of course her mother comes and finds her to talk to her. That's like, hey, let's go off. I want you to. Well,
but all of that happened after the Queen's meeting at the UN.
Yeah,
true.
Like they had that whole thing with the attack on the Wakandan research facility got attacked, and Dora Milaje showed up like hiding inside that.
They was in the vault. They were in.
Yeah, like they were in the vault. Was coming.
Yeah, that was clean coming out of the boat. Like, come on now, we knew y'all was coming.
So vicious, and because that. All of that happened is after the Queen says to them in the UN, like, we know what y'all saying. You know what I mean? They've lost their protector. They whatever. And y'all sit here talking about we said we were gonna share. Got something for you. And they walk in. I think the flies. I don't know.
Hey,
They
another clean moment.
Clean, bro. Walk in and drop. Oh, by the way, France, here's all your people.
Facts.
Hey, hold on.
You know
And right before that, once they told all them like bow down or something like get out, and they all did quiet. I was like, they don't.
And if I'm not mistaken, she said it in French.
Like,
She said it in French to them, and they understood it and got that. I was like,
yeah. And then, because France, it was the United States and France was like, you said you was blah 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 da da da. Oh, all right. You know what I mean? The Queen is like, consider this act of kindness. Man, if you dare step up in here again, I will consider it an act of war. Won't come through here no more. Here's your people back. You know what I'm saying? We could have killed all these joints. Here's your people back. You know what I mean? Because then when the mining joint gets attacked, they assume it's the Wakandans because the Wakandans are, she says to them, we know about your efforts to try to find vibranium outside of Wakanda somewhere, and we wish you the best of luck.
Best of luck.
Because for her, they believe that
it's all there.
Vibranium isn't anywhere else except for Wakanda. So she like best of luck. So when they get attacked, they assume, and the one thing about that attack was her being on the radio and being like, it's not the Wakandans.
Yeah.
Hey, Slim, somebody blue. It was somebody blue.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm blue.
She ain't make it though. Exactly. So yeah, then that kind of set off that whole thing about, well, it had to be the Wakandans, attacking us because they don't want us to get vibranium, whatever. But then we go back to Wakanda and they having that conversation, jokes with the team.
So her mom comes in the lab, have a conversation. Let's go out somewhere. I want to take you somewhere. I want to go do something. And she was like, you know what? Leave your beads and everything because we don't need them where we're going. So Shuri takes off her bracelet, puts it aside, and she's like, the earrings too. Because she know them earrings, and so she's like, really? Gets rid of the earrings too. But they go to the shores of Wakanda. Bonfire set up. She wanted I want to take you through a ritual, and they had their robes from the funeral, and because of course the way Wakandans their beliefs of course is just because the physical body has passed, death doesn't just end right there. Life still continues or whatnot ever, and a part of it is to burn those robes from the funeral, and so that moment can, of course, I don't want to say be erased, but we can continue on with life. Person still lives on, and we can continue our lives from there. But of course, Shuri is very, still really reluctant to actually wanting to do that. She's upset. She's angry that she's super intelligent. She's super smart. And it got to a point where her brother, asked her for help, and she just felt powerless. That with all of her knowledge and all of her technology, she couldn't recreate the herb. She couldn't save her brother. So she was angry. That's the easiest, the plain way to say that she was angry with the world, and like she said, she pretty much is ready to see the world burn because part of this for it. Now, while they're having their moment on the beach, we get this dude Namor just walks up on them. Like they heard something first. The queen, they were ready to go, spears drawn. If that dude Namor would have popped off, they were ready to square up and go against him. But he shows up friendly, just trying to explain what's going on. And of course, obviously they don't trust these outsiders. First of all, nobody just shows up to Wakanda. they of course have their shield and everything around the whole entire country. So for my man to just come in out the water, step up on land, like there's something wrong here. So they have the conversation. He's trying to get them to help him because now the machine, of course, they find out and he lets them know that there's vibranium that's right here in Wakanda. And Shuri immediately realizes he's covered in it. And it's like, hold on, why is that a thing? You know, he gives them a seashell that when finally they really want to have a discussion, they can just come to the water, blow into it, pop it in the water. He'll be there to pretty much continue the conversation about potentially joining forces to take on Earth dwellers, if you want to call them. After he leaves, they notice Shuri and her mom look to the left, and there's this big old giant machine just sitting on land.
Well, I think it's important to note that in that conversation, he wanted them to track down the scientists that created that vibranium finding machine that he does drop off, and that's what he left the seashell for. Like, when you get the scientists, go ahead and put it in the water, blow on it or whatever, and I'll come and collect the scientists. You know what I'm saying? So let's work together on this, okay? Go find a scientist and bring it to me.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't just like, hey,
yeah,
how y'all doing? Let's
hey neighbor. No.
let's we got vibranium too. Let's go fight this. Nah, he was like, hey, we've been good, minding our business until y'all let the world in on the fact that y'all have vibranium. Now they looking for it because of y'all. And y'all got contacts out here with people on the surface. It'll be easier for you to find a scientist that's responsible for it. And
they
all of her knowledge and all the things that she knows. Again, you just talked about how she's in this place where, from a technology standpoint, Shuri is super. She's a super genius, right? She's nigh on smarter than Vision, right? Like when they was trying to get the Mind Stone out of his head, they went to her.
Yeah.
Right. And when they sat down and she talked to Bruce, and when she was like, "How come y'all didn't just do this?" And he was like,
"We didn't think about it."
Think of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And remember, he's technically a child. You know what I mean? Like I don't know where they age her to in this. I mean, it's been a number of years, right? I mean, that was 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever. But I would have put her somewhere in the 16 to 17 age range in that first movie, right? So she is very much a child genius, and for her to say there is nothing that can detect vibranium, right? Like they made it very clear, even in that UN thing, like metal, it doesn't set off metal detectors. It doesn't, you know what I mean? So like, she's like, there's nothing that can find vibranium. And he leaves the machine that does it. So she has to dissect that and figure out how there even is something that can do it. She can just notice it. Like she's so used to being around it and working with it in ways that other people don't, that when he walks out, like he's just wearing jewelry. That's how much vibranium they got. They're not even armor.
He was blinging.
They just out there making gems. You know what I mean? Like making necklaces out of vibranium. Like So yeah, I think very important to know. You're right, saying that his whole thing is, it's your fault that now our land is being encroached on because they're looking for the thing that you let them know was here all of a sudden for whatever reason. And I mean, I'm not here for it. So you need to find this scientist that did it, and you need to get her to me. And they're like, yeah. And if we don't, because that's where the queen was at. First of all, who is you? You're just coming up over my shores in your drawers. Like, where did you come from? Who are you? Like, I don't repeat myself. And that's also, I think, important. Like, this is the moment where he says, well, they, my people call me Khan. You know what I'm saying? But, my enemies know me as Nemo, right? Like I'm like, all right, bet. You know what I mean?
Hey, let me tell you how hard I messed with that dude, dog. I love Namor, dog. I've never been a fan of him in comics. Didn't know too much about him. He wasn't in my thing, you know. But I'm excited. Okay, they're bringing somebody big, big into the MCU, about to get his introduction. I'm sorry, for me, he didn't disappoint. I messed with Slim the whole time. Like
he's a straight up threat.
Yeah, he's a big
threat. I'm about my people, and I'm about getting done what I feel like I need to get done. I ain't really worried about nothing else.
His personality, just like conversations, just hey, this is what it is. Don't play with me.
Yeah, he straight up told him like, "Hey, Slim, y'all can't trust me. Y'all can't stop us. Like, we got a bunch. It's a bunch of us, and we got powers. Like he was like, yeah, and we got powers. Like you know what I mean? Like y'all don't." Go ahead, give me that scientist. Though. You know what I mean? Like he just kind of smiled at him,
blow the horn,
and then quietly left that joint. Like anyone by himself. You know what I mean? Like they there with their spears looking dumb. Straight up. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he put it he made a straight up threat.
Yeah, he went for play.
Yeah.
Fix this mess that y'all started and bring it to me.
So they was like, if we don't, he was like, oh, then I'll be back. And next time I come back, I'm coming with the folks. When I come with my folks, y'all can't.
Then y'all can
better stop playing. Yeah, it was real, and it was. You know, Wakanda is crazy because like. We talk about like the audacity, right, of other countries, the U.S., the UN, France. They just trying. They want weapons. They want whatever. They're willing to step on that. And Wakanda is and always has been very much like you can't do nothing to Wakanda. Like you know what I mean? Like Thanos struggled. You know what I'm saying with his folks at Wakanda. Like it's not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like they're really like super
It'll be easy. Yeah, like Namor showed up like, nah, for real, it'll be easy.
Yeah, it's like, good to see that there's somebody out there that can challenge him.
If we wanted y'all dead, y'all would already be dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so you're seeing Wakanda, even beyond the fact that there's not a Black Panther, beyond the fact there's not a king. It wouldn't matter if the Black Panther was there or not. The sheer fact that you're actually seeing Wakanda in a place of like
vulnerability,
fear, of actually being vulnerable, actually being concerned, like how does Slim get in?
Yeah,
like that conversation.
Yeah, that is not supposed to happen.
That is not supposed to happen at all.
Yeah, getting here was nothing. Yeah, like
they had a conversation about that though. Once they got back home to the palace, it's like
he's like, how did Slim get in here?
How did he get in here?
Makes no sense. Who was on guard? Like I'm sitting there like, bro, he did not come from land or air. He just swam in. Like y'all didn't think that would work.
This Bam on Mbaki, dog.
Dog. Him walking into that meeting was everything, dog. Just snacking on his little red carrot. Just
the carrot.
just banter. Oh my god.
Him and Nicole, like, straight up, I'd have killed him. Like, ain't no if
if I didn't leave. If the Jabari had been there, the Fishman would be dead. I'm like, hey,
him and Uncle start arguing. You bald-headed David.
Hey, dog.
I'm done.
I lost it. You bald-headed demon. Okay. Hey, what? Who want to talk trash? They squad, bro.
They had a good old conversation about that because somebody's head was gonna roll like how y'all let this dude just walk up in here like that.
Yeah.
They ended up back in Shuri's lab. I know they decided once they figured out that they needed to go after the scientists, of course, that created the machine for it. Initially, it was just going to be Okoye that was going to end up going after, but she ended up recommending taking Shuri with her. It's like, let her come out. She needs to be away from everything.
The queen was hesitant about it.
Queen was very hesitant about it. But of course, Okoye is like, she'll be with me. So like, typically, I would say that's very reassuring that Okoye is going to be there. And of course, Shuri is like, when we leaving. So she ended up letting her go. So they head off to MIT to look for Riri Williams. And that was a pretty easy find once they got there. When the camera goes, because when we get there, Riri Williams is just walking up to another random student, and like she's like pretty much took his phone. Like, you ain't Venmo me.
Just love my man.
Just straight up. You ain't Venmo me. And my man was like, nah, like, whatever. Like, clearly she's helping folks out on campus. She's making nice size amount of bread for help students that probably have no business probably being at MIT in the first place. I mean, granted,
so body, my man, like
he was trying to get
800, right? Nah, that was yesterday's price. Mm-hmm. It's $1,000 a day. He said, a stat? It's a stat a day.
What did you even do? Like, I did. He was like, I did such and such, and then she was like, well, I did such and such thing. If I didn't do that,
what grade did you get? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Great. Let me get that bread, Slim.
Done.
Yeah.
But so clearly we see Riri Williams, of course, another smart one, and Okoye. Sure, you see her, and Okoye, she's ready to just be Okoye and just go grab Riri and just be done with this. Shuri is just like, I got this. I got this.
Less conspicuous.
I blend in. I can just be the student here. It's just like, you got 5 minutes. But that banter that they had between each other,
that was hilarious.
Was absolutely hilarious. Talking about the makeup, I look good. Like, everything. You look great. Fine. You look fine. Shuri makes her way to Riri's dorm room. She just casually walking through the dorm, and of course nobody else recognizing her or anything like that. But of course, she knocks on Riri's door, and she opens that door, and she immediately knows who this is that comes to her door, and she just absolutely, wait, why are you here? Are you recruiting me? Like, just straight up, like, you recruiting me? She's like, no.
Another character that I know of Riri, but I enjoyed her off that first interaction. Like, okay, I'm liking Riri and what they're doing with her right now. Mm-hmm. She was quite funny.
And they having a little conversation in her dorm room, and Riri tries to be like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go to the bathroom right quick. She go to that bathroom. Like, we kind of have an idea of what the thing is going to happen. She gets to that bathroom. Okoye is in the bathroom, stopping that bathroom, going in there. Sure is like, you told me 5 minutes. Like,
I gave you 6.
It's been 6. Straight up.
And so, clearly, in her dorm room, Riri, we see her roots, being from Chicago, Bulls jersey, Chicago flag up on the wall. And what's really funny is, like, I guess that I don't know what the proper Chicagoan whatever I don't know what the proper way to call somebody from Chicago. She was ready to square up to Okoye, and I'm just like,
with the Bluetooth speaker. And I'm like, I don't think this is gonna go the way that you think it is. And when she chucked that thing, Okoye pulled out her spear and cut that thing in half. I was like, yeah, this is not gonna go the way that you thought. But afterwards, when they finally, of course, they explained to her that her life is in danger. They need her to come with them. Reluctantly, she finally ends up
going. Well, I should say they kind of didn't really give her a choice. It was like, but she went along with them, but she needed to go back to her lab first. So they go to where Riri, I'm taking it, this is probably where she lives and everything that she has in there outside of her dorm room. And we see tons and tons of stuff around in her lab. Like she has blueprints on the wall. Like she has like her own, it's like her bat cave, I think is the easiest way to describe.
It's her workshop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's her workshop. She said that the dude who she like fixed trucks or whatever for like the garbage trucks or whatever, and as a thank you or whatever, I guess the deal they worked out, he lets her use that space, that garage space for her stuff. Yeah.
So, they go there and we see some interesting things around the room that's in there. And, she's gathering some stuff up, the computer that she created, everything for the machine on. And, they just ask us like, you really leave like that just sitting there with that type of information on it? She's like, yeah, like she's not expecting Wakandans or anybody to just show up on her doorstep one day for honestly for any
specifically calls out that she has like a super high encryption on it.
Yeah, like 256-bit encryption or something crazy.
Yeah, and then and Shorty's like, dang, for real? Like, you ever lock yourself out? She's like, yeah. And at that point, this is one of the most important things that happens in the movie that I'm sure that slipped past a lot of people. She basically says she had to like build like a quantum computer or whatever to get herself back in. Like she had to build a quantum joint to like backdoor herself.
Did she say it take her like a month or a week to get back in?
Like a month or something like that, like to get back in. But she did it. And if you look, it looks like she has blueprints that match the same thing that it looks like is the joint from Ant-Man and Quantumania. So I don't know if that's the same thing that she built for that, but she appears to have worked obviously in quantum tech in some way. So she could be tied into to Quantumania too, just off that brief. Yeah.
Or maybe Ant-Man's daughter reached out to her or something like that to help build the device they use to get stuck in the quantum realm.
At this point, like Cassie should be in college. She could be at school at MIT. I think it's a little tricky that I was expecting that Riri was going to be a recipient of like one of the scholarships or something that Wakanda would do. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that, or part of the outreach program that they had started. That's what my expectation was. But that doesn't appear to be the case. Like she seems to have done her own thing and gotten into like MIT like on her own merit. And like when you meet Riri in the comic, she's like 16, and here she's like 19.
19.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
older. So, which again, who knows? Maybe she got dusted or whatever. Who knows? You know what I mean? As far as the time jump or whatever is concerned, but she seems to have kind of done that on her own. But it's also, again, this MIT, and this is also like she's working with all this Iron Man stuff, and she's working in Star Tech, like there, and this is where Tony Stark went and gave everybody all those grants.
They funded everybody's thing.
Yeah, they funded everybody's stuff. So it's like it could even be some of that money is coming from something that had to do with that somewhere. Like who knows exactly where she got that Stark Tech from, but she was definitely working with it.
So most certainly. And, so after they gather everything, the boys show up outside of the warehouse, and they're ready to come in and just arrest everybody and take them away. But they're all like, nah, this ain't gonna go down like that. We gotta escape. We gotta get out of here. And Riri was like, I got a way out of here. And, they look up and they're just like, does that thing actually fly? Like, listen, we don't see exactly what it is, but all of us, like, we all know. Like, it was like, okay, she got like her Mark 1 suit up here in the rafters or whatnot ever.
I laughed so hard in that moment when the police bust in and one of them just goes, oh shit, she got an Iron Man suit. I died laughing.
My theater lost it when that happened. Shuri of course goes off on. She's on a dirt bike, and Okoye takes I think the Challenger that she had parked in there that her Riri and her father worked on. And then from there, it's pretty much just a chase scene. Then it shares from there. Riri at the same time though, she's flying away in her Mark 1 suit, but she's still in a sense she's testing her suit out at the same time, because I don't think she's actually done like the test flight. It's very reminiscent of when Tony Stark that first time back home, took his armor, made like the first version of the slim Iron Man outfit. And I was, for a second, when Riri was flying up into the sky, I was like, oh, is she gonna run into the ice freezing over thing? Because she was going for it for a second. And I was like, oh, please don't run into that right now, because like her suit is not like it's like fully covering her, so I feel like that would have done a lot more
like an exosuit.
Yeah, than an actual like full body armor. But she also had a plan in mind once she got up there. It was a drone, and at first when she hit the drone, I just thought, I don't know, I thought it was a little weird at first. I thought she just hit the drone, but no, there was a plan behind that. And Okoye and I'm having a moment right now. Shuri, they're rolling together next to each other on their two vehicles, and they're about to run into pretty much a track that they are blocking them off. And here comes that drone that she hit and just wipes and clears the path away for them to continue their escape. But as they thought they were home free, they got the ultimate surprise of these dudes just coming up out of the water and pretty much just wrecking the vehicles, and they just get thrown from both of them.
With that water bomb or water grenade that they threw out.
And
those are pretty dope.
And I will tell you, that scene, I don't know about y'all, but when after Okoye wrecked, like it was like 6 of them maybe in total, and she wrecked like the 4 or 5 of them. They're like an average sized person. She took on like their boss, Atuma, and I was a little worried because
you thought she wasn't gonna make it?
Dog, this is another moment.
Getting real.
They took the music out.
I love that.
I loved it, but at the same time, I was scared because I'm like, oh my god, there's no music playing. It's getting serious right now. They're wrecking. I was like, boy, ain't gonna make it.
All right, listen. This is one of my biggest issues with this movie. Is this scene in particular. Look. Give me listen. If I'm captain and I'm picking teams, I'm picking Okoye off break every time, bruh. Cause she went to work, right? Like Riri's down, Shuri's down. She checks on Shuri and she's ready to body all of these ones. Like, I don't know who y'all think y'all are coming up out the water, whatever. Mm-hmm. Y'all ain't about to do nothing out here. And she wrecked like 3-4 of them environments together. Like she was doing it.
Punishing. She was hitting finishing blows too.
They thought she killed them, man.
Dog, finishing blows.
And then this dude, Atuma, was like, hey, go be with Namora. And they all just got up and left. And I was like, hold tight. So I'm gonna tell you right now, this right here is why this movie is at a 7 for me. When this scene is over, she addresses to the queen and everybody else that's important in the ruling kingdoms of Wakanda, hey Slim, I killed these members. And they got up and just walked away like it didn't happen. And it's never addressed again. First of all, why did they do that? Why can they do that? How can they do that? And how is it that Wakanda is under attack by these folks? And that's just not happening. Like, even in the fight at the very end of the movie, when they're just climbing up onto the ship or whatever and they fighting, it shouldn't even matter, dog. It shouldn't even matter because everybody they kill should just get back up.
Yeah.
And it just never, it's just like a plot point that just is completely thrown away.
I forgot about that.
And
I thank you for reminding me about that. Because I did, as you were talking, I was like, I know where he's about to go with this, but
and that was that's
Slim,
part of my issue with the last scene. We'll get to that.
And I'm gonna tell you because
I have
like
issues with the final scene too. When we get to it.
Here's the crazy thing about it. In our MCU chat, my sister asked about it. She was like, I don't really know much about Namor and about his people, but like, are they undead? Are they whatever? And I'm like, nah, they're not undead. They not, you know what I mean? And like, the only thing I can, and here's the thing. The only thing I can give them, right, as the telekinesians, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of them have vibranium in their DNA. Because his story, as is different from the comics, right? But his story is that basically they had their own heart-shaped herb, right? That grew underwater. They were using it to heal themselves from smallpox. It basically killed them. And then they came back to life. But when they came back to life, they could only breathe and live underwater. His mother was pregnant with him at the time. And so he is kind of a half-breed. He says the words mutant. Like he was born as a mutant. He has the wings on his feet. He didn't have the color and he can breathe air and in the water. So he's good either way. If you notice, they're only blue when they're not in the water. Did you notice that?
Yep. When they got back
when they're in the water, they're fine. When they're outside of the water, that's when their skin that's when they're blue. Right? And their masks have water in them. They're basically breathing
the water,
the oxygen
and on their gills too, like on their gills
right.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
So they, you know, but that's the only thing that I can give them is that their ability to live and exist under the water comes from the fact that all of their ancestors literally ingested the quote-unquote heart-shaped herb. So by proxy, technically, every single person in Talokan is a Black Panther.
I said this.
Because in Wakanda, the only person who gets the heart-shaped herb is the Black Panther.
Yeah.
And therefore, Slim has all the powers and all the skills. So think about that for a second.
We have you outnumbered, and we're stronger than you.
What? And he said that though. He was like, and we got powers. Like, you know, in the comics, Atuma is more of a rival for Namor. He kind of like his second in command or whatever. And when Slim steps up, and I appreciated that whole like warrior joint, like, oh, bet you a warrior? Because I'm about this warrior life. Let's wreck. Yo,
him giving her back the spear. Like, no, let's keep it going.
We're gonna finish this. Like,
This
is a true fight. We're gonna fight until one of us is dead.
No, that action was dope.
Bro, snaps her joint back and like, bro, that fight is incredible.
Yeah, and then the decision to have no music in it just sold it even more.
I was worried.
Just the grunting and the clashing. It was great.
It's only sullied for me by the fact that they have this like, dog, how come these Bramers could just get back up and walk away, bro? Like, she stabbed him with a Wakandan spear that is made of vibranium, and I get it that they're
she like slit one of their throats or something.
Hey, bro, like she straight up was murdering them joints. Like,
no, she bodied all three of them. Yeah,
and they just got up
by like four or five.
Yeah, they just got up, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a problem for them. And again, she brings it up in the throne room. Mm-hmm. Like, I killed them, and they just got up and walked away. Never addressed. It's ignored for the rest of the movie the same way the Queen ignored it when she said it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't care what they did, Slim. You're
fired. About all that.
Hey,
yeah.
Queen was hot.
Fired, bro.
My daughter's going. You are done. I don't have time.
Queen was hot. And you know, we'll continue on that. Like, after the fight was over. Okoye got thrown into the water. And like they took Shuri at that point. Shuri got up and was like,
well, they didn't take Shuri, quote
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, she ended up going with them because they were going to take Riri. Mm-hmm. So when she turned on, she had like a translator, and of course it works. Of course,
she asked them to take her with them,
and they took her with her. So they gave her took off his mask, gave it to her, and it took them off. Then fast forward back to the throne room. Queen was hot, and just like you said, she didn't care that Okoye put them down. They got back up. You was like, she's gonna be with me, and she was gonna be safe. And now this is the scene where we get to see when she's like, my whole family's gone. Like, she has nothing. Everything is gone. When I tell you the emotion that came from Angela Bassett during that scene,
it was real.
Incredible.
It was very much her setting the car on fire and waiting there. Yeah, it was dope. I like that there was some pushback, right? That like other members was like, maybe you being a little hasty. Like, she turned her own spear on her own husband, and that just flipped it even harder for her. It was like, she can go visit Slim,
right?
She can go see him. My whole family dead now.
I think in that scene, I started to think about how well they are bodying different levels of grief that everybody is going through, from Shuri to the Queen to Okoye when they finally bring her into the picture. Like, everybody's handling grief in different ways, whether how they just deal with it and are attacking it. I was like, yeah, Angela Bassett is bodying this right now. Like, I feel like as an audience member, like, oh, this hurts.
Oh yeah, when she brought up Killmonger, was like, I watched you stand next to Killmonger. I had to go to the Jabaris and beg them
for help.
To say, hey son, you can put that spear down and get low, dog. I don't got nothing for you. No. And that's just like, she's been harboring that for all of this time. Like, you could just see it. It was like, bro, you felt every moment of that, bro. Like, you could just straight up feel it. Like, and for real, it was kind of a super crazy, stark reminder, I feel like, to everybody in the theater. Like, oh yeah, remember when Okoye was standing next to Killmonger, even though she didn't want to do it, but she chose to side with Slim. She could have slit his throat. She didn't, whatever. Like, you should have protected Wakanda. You didn't protect Wakanda. Like, she stood on her oath or whatever. Like, it was real. That was very real in that moment. In there, for sure.
Yeah, she straight up relieved Okoye of her duties of leading the Dora Milaje. Like that, she left her spear, and you could tell how much it hurt her. She's like, I have fought, bled for this country. I've done everything that you could possibly ask for. Give me the opportunity to go get your daughter back. And she just flat out.
I've given everything, and she's like, my whole family dead. Everybody gone. Haven't I given everything?
Get out.
Yeah. Better bounce.
Okoye is no longer Dora Milaje. I was actually surprised. But at that point, of course, Queen's gotta figure something out. At this point, she doesn't know if Shuri. She's assuming, obviously, that Shuri is dead. She's just pretty much just wrote her off. But she knows she's got to figure out a way to kind of figure it out. But now, after that scene, we go back to the site of the fight, and investigation is happening, looking around, and of course, what's my man's name?
Ross.
As he's walking through, he's looking at some things. He noticed Shuri's beads. Now, of course, at the time, he just knows that these are their Okoye beads or whatnot. He sees them, he's like, whoa. They're immediately going to think that it's Wakanda that did this. So he grabs them up real quick, slides them in his pocket. Now, this was a moment that I wasn't anticipating actually happening during the movie. And we have Val show up. And, like, I was excited when I was in my theater, because the theater, I don't know about you guys, theater I was in knew she was the moment she walked up on screen. Because there'd be some moments that some people don't watch the shows.
The person next to me, these two young ladies sit next to me. As soon as you showed up on the screen, what was showing out? This bitch.
Yes, yeah.
Dog, my theater,
bro.
we all was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Hey, listen, real talk. That's how it was. And I'm sitting next to my daughter. She hasn't watched any of it. She just won't watch the shows or whatever. She ain't know who it was. She was like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "You don't watch shows. I can't tell you right now. Like, I can't even get into it with you right now. I can't tell you.
Right.
You missed it." But yeah.
So when she showed up, I was like, wait a minute. I know we ain't doing no Thunderbolt stuff right now. I was like, a part of me feels like her showing up, I really feel like she was probably originally like an after credit scene or something, but it's not to take away from, we'll talk about it at the end in a little bit. I feel like they ended up working that more into the movie. Like, I don't know.
Well, it felt like a natural part of the movie to me, as much of it as she was in.
But, you know, she comes up on Ross, you know, they just start having a conversation or whatnot ever. And, you know, she's like, well, you know, I need to go back to headquarters or whatnot. Or can you drive me? And he was like, wasn't like 6 hours or something like that for wherever it is that they needed to be to.
I think it was 5 hours.
It was something. Yeah. It was something. And she's like, yeah, let's just get in the car and drive. And I'm hearing this and I'm already like, yo, something's not right. Like this whole I'm like, you gonna drive to whatever.
She's a little too familiar with you.
Right, and I'm like, there's something off here. So they get in the car, they drive off, heading back to headquarters, and they pull up at headquarters. You know, they're still talking, and the beads in Ross's pocket start going off, and you know he's trying to figure out how am I gonna play this. So he pulls out his cell phone and just starts talking and just like acting like it's another woman on the phone, just to make the vibe in the car very uncomfortable. Because originally,
because when she said to him, yeah, drive me back, and he was like, that's like a 6-hour drive, and she was like, yeah, but it's fine. She was like, I have some things I want to apologize to you for from when we was married anyway.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking that was after
that. Right before they did that. Yeah,
she dropped that joint.
I know when she dropped that bomb, my whole
we all lost it. Oh, we lost it.
Everybody's like, hold tight. Yeah.
I'm thinking that came out. Okay, cool. We all lost it at that moment.
Yeah.
But then once they got there, of course, he had to make it a little awkward, a little tension in there, and start talking like he's speaking to like another woman on the phone, and she's like, I think I'll go ahead and get out. And that's when he pulls the beads out. Well, actually, he pulls off. Like, I'm happy he did that and just didn't sit there and try to do it, because knowing her, she'd probably just walked back up to the car, but drove off. And of course, it's the queen on the line. And, you know, the first question out of her mouth is, "Why do you have my daughter's beads on you?" And, you know, he's just like, "Listen, I didn't know they were hers. I found them on the site. First instinct was just to grab these things up, and so they would not find them, because the moment they would find them, they would immediately think that Wakanda was involved in this, was the actual reason behind this, and pretty much they're going to send folks to Wakanda." And he was like, I had to avoid that. So, you know, he gives her some information to go off of, but at the same time, he's trying to get information as well too. Like earlier on, you know, Ross met up with Okoye and Shuri as well, and it was the same bit. They didn't want to give him the information truly on who was behind the attack on the machine. Like, they already knew it was Namor, but they didn't want to say there's a whole nother country, there's a whole nother entity involved with this.
He told them, because Namor told them, if you tell anybody, if you tell them about us, we coming for y'all.
We're coming for y'all. Yeah. So the queen still did the same thing. It was like, listen, you know, some things that I can't say. You know, Shuri's missing. All this is happening right now. I just need you to keep me updated with things that's happening. And, you know, he's just like, cool, whatever. Find things out. I'll let you know. But at this point now, the queen, she's got to figure a way out to find out if Shuri is alive or not. She tried to track. She knew the beads, obviously, clearly. Bracelet wasn't with her, but it looked like the earrings were still with her. They lost track of them off of, I believe they said it was like the Atlantic or something like that, where the last trace of those were coming from. And so at that point, she figures she's got to find somebody that she can trust to try to help her with this. And she ends up, and she went and find Nakia, who we up to this point haven't seen at all through the whole entire movie, even at the funeral. And the queen, of course, questions, why weren't you at the funeral? You are always welcome in Wakanda. There's nothing that she has to worry about but she expressed that she had to deal with grief pretty much in her own way. And I mean, we see that through the entire movie. Everybody is trying to deal with it in their own shape, their own form. Yeah. But she's like, listen, I need them skills. It's like, I know it's been a while, but you know how to infiltrate, get in somewhere without folks knowing that you was there, get the information I need, hopefully find Shuri, extract Shuri, whatever it is. I need you to do this. And of course, she's reluctant to do it. She's like, it's been years. I haven't done anything like that. She's got a place in Haiti now where she's fostering, helping kids, teaching them how to, grow food, take care of themselves, do all this in like the shelter that she's established. But eventually, Nakia ends up agreeing to try to go on this trip to figure out what exactly happened to Shuri. She flies out, or what, we don't see like her, get on a plane or anything, but she just shows up in I'm guessing this is the country where Namor was first born at, and she's trying to get a little bit of backstory, like the history and the lore that's behind the guy with the wings on his ankles. And initially when she gets there, she tries to talk to this older woman. Clearly they don't like to talk to, looks like outsiders, folks that are not from the area, not from the town, country, whichever way you want to call it. But then she hit a nerve when she said, I've seen this person, or I've encountered them. And that turns the whole story, and the woman ends up opening up to her and kind of going through and telling this backstory to her for her to kind of understand where Namor originated and where he came from for it. How did you guys think that went, just for her getting that little bit of information out of her?
I think it was cool. It was on par, with what she does, being a spy, for Wakanda. It was cool. It was cool. I was looking more. I was more focused on I don't know if the scene happened before, just with Shuri and Riri being with Namor and everything they were going through at the time and all that kind of stuff. That was more so like I was enjoying that part of the story. I would say right there. But no, what Nakia was doing was on brand with her, getting the information, trying to track down Shuri, get her back to her mother. It was cool.
I agree. I mean, we had to get back some backstory, you know what I mean, or whatever, somehow, and I think it was a good way to do it.
Yeah, because obviously we got changes from the comics, and I think they made it work very well. I do believe the scene that you're talking about, I believe that came next.
Okay.
Because once that scene happens, then we come back to Nakia gearing up to get ready to go find Shuri at that point in time. Well, of course, Shuri and Riri, of course, they're in, at the time we don't know the name, but they're being held prisoner. Talokan, I believe I'm saying that right.
I think that's right.
Yeah. The country or underwater city that Namor, of course, is ruling over. Shuri, of course, wakes up having a conversation with Riri. and I'm guessing some of the attendants for Namor actually come to Shuri, present her with like a princess or like a royal garment for her to actually wear, and then she's going to take them to actually talk with Namor. And this is where, when she comes to Namor's presence, they have a conversation. And, you know, Namor kind of also goes through and gives some of his backstory on where he came from, talks about being a mutant, and we start getting all of that information. And he ends up inviting her to come really, truly see the city for her eyes.
Mm-hmm. He asked. He said, "I want to go see it. Like, show it to me." And he was like, "I mean, you could come out that joint and you could die. The pressure could crush your bones, and you could die a horrible death."
I love how I sold that.
You just wear a suit.
Wear a suit. But then, of course, you know, she suits up, and they have a whole way of getting to the city. Like, I guess that's just the way for her to get there. I don't know if necessarily Namor always would use that himself, but it was like an underwater vortex, I guess would be the way to say it for it. They entered the vortex, and like it just took them straight to the city from there. Namor just swims through it. Like, it's like a super massive current of water underwater, and he's just swimming through it like normal. But they show up at the city. You know, he takes her through. You know, they look at the city, look at the sights. You know, the people are there. Some of the people come up to Shuri, you know, being friendly to her. But just seeing how everything thrives down there, and you know, they have their Kamehameha thing that they do when. I'm sorry, like that was the first thing that came to mind when I saw that the very first time, and I was just like,
"Of course you would."
You two, shut up.
That was not the first thing that came to my mind.
But they go through the city, look at all the sights, and then they finally get to a place where they sit, and they just start having a conversation. And you know, it seems like, you know, this conversation is initially it's one of peace and trying to really understand one another, to come to a common ground. It's like the issue, of course, that he has, Riri Williams, knowing what's going on. You know, he explains, you know, like, I want her dead. I have to protect my interests, my city, my people, and I will do it any means that it needs to be for it. But of course, Shuri didn't want that at all. She's like, we can protect her. You know, we can take Riri back to Wakanda. She'll stay there. We'll keep her protected, and you will never have to worry about any of these type of things happening again. But of course, that answer wasn't good enough for him. And pretty much at that point, it's like saying, if you're not going to be with me, you know, I have no problem. Like, I want to go to war with the surface world, and I really want you guys as an ally. But if you don't want to help, you guys will be the first ones that we come up there and destroy before we go on this warpath of destroying the whole rest of the surface world. And then while after they're like pretty much in the middle of while they're having the conversation, this is where we switch back. Nakia is still tracking Shuri's earrings and comes to the entryway where they initially went in to start the whole journey to get to Talokan. And she has like her, I guess, pseudo submarine, whatever you want to call it, that she gets into, head on down there and infiltrate. Somehow she found it. I don't know how she made her entryway or whatever, but she makes her way there. Shuri, of course, finished her conversation with Namor, comes back to where Riri is and kind of fills her in on what's going on, what's happening. And that's when Nakia shows up. She bodies one of the guards that are there, trying to rescue the two of them.
In that moment when she bodies him, the first thing that popped in my mind was how bad Gage went that shotgun. That's the first thing that popped in my head.
I said, bruh, she showed up with a Wakandan shotgun, bro. Wakanda's got shotties.
And
Like,
body
you're not
slowly.
I said, hold up. And the kid just became my favorite. She the best. She the best.
But
Man, she was rocking the vicious greens. What?
Hey, but you know what? A small little tidbit I left out before we got back there. Right before Shuri went back, Namor got summoned by the Queen, and so he ends up leaving off, going there, and that's when Shuri returns. So in the process, this is kind of like, I guess you could say, the distraction. Namor comes back up to land to speak with the Queen while Nakia is rescuing them, and that conversation they had was not the same type of conversation they had when he first showed them on land. Like, don't get me wrong, that first conversation, you know, there was some stern things that were said, but in this conversation, this was pretty much the I will come to Wakanda and I will kill you.
Oh yeah, no, he raised up on the Queen, just got up on her like, hold up, Slim, I will body all of you. Don't play with me. Pretty much like, yeah.
Specifically, not he said he's gonna body it, but he specifically says, I will kill you. And that will be the end of it. So Nakia, of course, rescues Shuri and Riri. They get low, they get out of there.
Another important plot point. Right before she leaves the conversation with Namor and seeing Telecon and everything, he gave her that bracelet that his mother had. He gives her that vibranium bracelet. I just putting that out there because I know it comes into play.
It's important.
Yeah, towards the end.
It's important. And, you know, they finally get out. Well, right before they get out, you know, Shuri actually tries to save one of the other guards that was down there, but, you know, Nakia and Riri was like, we need to get low, and they dipped. And of course, Namor came back and found the one injured soldier that was down there, you know, asking, and she asked, you know, can you save me? And, you know, he just straight up like, and that was
Wakanda struck the first blow. Oh God, here we go.
Yep. So pretty much we know war is coming. So Nakia takes Shuri back. They're all safe. While they're safe, Namor, of course, gets his gear on and he's got to address his people. And of course, addresses his people. And, you know, he's, you know, speaking to him, like, you know, it's kind of my fault. You know, I was reluctant. You know, I was looking for peace. Like, I tried to make with the Wakandans, have them as an ally. But unfortunately, because of how things turned out, you know, folks died. But now, you know what? Peace is no longer an option. We are going to fight. And from there, it was like, we're taking it to Wakanda. And they took it to Wakanda. And boy, oh boy, as much as Wakandans are prepared for battle, they were not ready for Namor and his folks to roll up on the country. And of course, to start things off, the easiest thing they did, they started flooding out the city. And it really was not much they could do. Of course, saving the citizens was going to be number one priority to anything else. Shuri got into the fight, just really honestly running defense. Honestly, I can't really say she tried to go on the offensive, but this dude Namor is a beast, and he single-handedly put down these ships up there. And
my man was out there airwalking like Sanji in One Piece.
No, that was my thought. That
he gave him
Baku.
Oh my gosh,
boy!
Hey, I felt it that breath he tried to take in the end. I was like, bro, you need one of these joints right now.
And let me, I gotta ask you, Gage, because when that scene happens, this happens. And I wonder if this is one of your moments too, because I remember last time we talked about some slow motion, and there was a lot of slow motion that occurred in this movie.
No. Don't you dare,
Don't
dog.
I? Hey,
Don't you dare, dog.
I'm just asking.
There was one moment of slow motion. One. It was a turnaround punch to shatter your Jabari armor, bro. Punch your little monkey armor right in the mouth chest, bro. Shatter it and send you flying. It wasn't an entire movie filled with just slow motion after slow motion after. Stop playing with me, jokes. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's not even close, bro. It's not even close. If you see, now you try to set me off. Listen to me. There is absolutely no reason why Black Adam needed to be 2 hours plus. That joint could have been an hour and a half if they'd have had not so much daggone slow motion. They could have chopped like an hour out of the time frame on that movie if it wasn't so much stupid slow motion in that joint. This was one joint, and it was perfect. It was perfect. My man seen Slim on the show was like, fish man. He was ready, fish man. He jumped and was ready to give him the Jabari blow of justice with the power staff, with the ball on the end of the joint. You can see it if you watching the video. You can see the little ball. He holding it in the picture behind me. You know what I'm saying? Like you can see the little joint on the staff. Like he got the piece of like it's like a Wakandan, like I don't know, like a cue ball, dog. He has on the back of his staff. And Namor shattered that joint with his arm and gave him the spin punch of destiny and put that dude through a market stall. Put that dude through a market. Punish Slim. It was one joint. It was clean. What do you mean, Joe?
Just you slow motion. That's the only reason why I brought that up, because I knew that was.
I don't have issues with slow motion. I have issues with the
overuse unnecessary.
Yeah. Nah, it was just funny that I just had to do that. But
so Sin thought about me when the shotgun showed up. You thought about me when the slow motion happened.
Yep.
Hey, I'm sorry. First thing popped in my head was just straight up like, I know Gates put that
going ham, like, dude, look at that dude.
Oh,
that's on fire, vibranium shells or something. What's happening?
It probably was. That's definite. But yeah, M'Baku thought he was dead himself. But after that, of course, Namor, he goes right up to the castle, Namor, whatever you want to call it, and the Queen is standing at the front of the glass because she's watching down on the city at everything that's happening, and Namor, of course, just shows up right in her face, and he thought that glass was kind of thin, and he tried for it right then and there, but it didn't happen.
That glass is made out of vibranium, dog. It is.
I'm sure.
There's no way his vibranium spear doesn't go through that glass and into her heart. Because this is a man who just threw a helicopter, dog.
Yeah.
He flies, he has superhuman strength, and he's using vibranium, and he chucked that joint at that window. That only happened to put all the rest of us in suspense. It was a head fake for us, like, oh snap, she dead.
Oh, you had me. Oh, they had me. I was like, okay.
And then they did the comeback.
I was like, okay, cool. I was like, they can't do that. And then not a few seconds later, the water just comes through. It just floods the whole throne room.
What a grenade,
because he kept like 15 grenades in there.
And like,
he meant every word of what he said.
And more.
I'm gonna kill you, bro. So I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Is it Shuri's fault that the Queen died?
I don't think so.
All right. Let me put some stairs on it for you.
Okay.
She radioed her and told her not to leave. And she was like, your mother, you break it up, da-da-da, and left, hung up. She's talking to Aneka, and she's like, you hung up on the Queen. She's like, I hung up on my mother. It's not the same thing. And she leaves and goes out anyway. Now, had she stayed, even if she wasn't able to stop She got there at the very last moment. At this point, Riri is drowning. Mom is drowning. Mom is trying to save her. She wasn't there, is my point. Right? Not that where she was and what she was off doing wasn't important. But she don't listen. And had she listened, much higher probability that things would have been different. That she could have been the one to dive in and get Riri maybe instead of her mother or whatever. Any number of things that could have been different. So in her head, is she partially blaming herself? Right? Because she's been at odds with her mother and not listening to her mother from the very beginning of the movie. Bucking tradition, not wanting to do what she's told, not wanting to do what she says, not wanting to follow what the procedures are and so forth, until now where she's forced into it. Because now her mother's gone. Right? And even then, she don't really want to follow the tradition. So not necessarily is she to blame, but in her head is she to blame.
I think she blames herself.
Oh no, she definitely blames herself.
Yeah, I don't think it's her fault, but she 100% blames herself for her mother dying.
I think there's a part that, like, when she was talking to Namor back in the city, like I feel like even though they still were not eye to eye on the whole entire situation, I do feel like there was a little bit of a better understanding.
It was a mutual respect building
that
didn't exist prior to that, because there was never any attempt to actually get to know
to do that. And at that point, like, that was probably the first time I think as Princess Shuri, like, she was doing something that was like royal, like something that you would see the royal side do. Now, had her mother,
she was doing the queen's job.
Right.
The queen was busy being angry and vengeful. Like, there's an overarching theme in this film about that anger and that vengeance, and it's a thing that exists in Black Panther the movie, but it's Killmonger's revenge and his anger, where the first time we run into T'Challa, it's his anger and his revenge. In Civil War, he's on that path.
He's on that path.
He wants to chase down and kill Bucky because he believes Bucky killed his father. So he's on that vengeful path. It's not until the very end of that movie that he's what's the name from killing himself, and gets to a place where he's like, all right, we have to handle things differently. We have to do things differently. And then deals with that vengeance again in his own movie, but again from Killmonger's perspective, but it opens his eyes, right? That vengeance, that anger that Killmonger has opens his eyes. That is still a running theme throughout this film, is the anger, the vengeance, right? So the queen is still holding on to that anger that she has, that she lets loose on Okoye. She's been holding on to it, you know what I mean, since the first movie, right? That anger, lost her husband, she's angry about it, but proud to see her son step up and step into this role. Lost her son, now her daughter's missing, her entire family's gone, right? Okoye back the only other person who technically would have been family to her, which is the nephew that took over and did, whatever. Like, again, that anger, that vengeance is still there. And with Shuri gone, she's, the Wakandans are kind of like the Empire in Star Wars, where they just think they above, whatever. And it's not that they not being generous, because we don't have to give you your people back. They did just try to steal our stuff and attack our ship, but here's your people. That sense of vulnerability, being vulnerable while also still attempting to act like you're the biggest, baddest thing on the planet, right? Like, you ain't just gonna let this dude walk in here and talk to you any kind of way. You saying on Wakandan land. Well, they not on Wakandan land when she goes to meet him this second time. And he says to her, like, Iceland, don't play with me. You know what I mean? She's like, if my daughter is hurt, if my daughter's whatever, he's like, hey, look, man, She's like, if my daughter's hurt, we telling the United States about you. Like we the almost Wakanda or whatever of the world. Like, we gonna tell the United. If you tell him, I'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna come to Wakanda and I'm gonna kill you. Straight up, right? She's so angry, right? And and I get it, like she's moving in anger, but she's trying to do the thing that she feels like is the thing that needs to be done. She's not really listening to the council. She's not taking it on because she's still so angry, right, about all the stuff that's going on. That vengeance, that anger has consumed her. And so what is happening to Wakanda is because she acted and because she wouldn't listen. She didn't listen to Shuri. You know, she goes, they rescue Shuri. Shuri's back. They're not listening to her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She trying to tell them, hey, look, man, this ain't no joke. Man, these folks, they ready to go. This is what they trying to do. They want to wage war against the whole planet. And they ready to. Like, they ready to wage war against the whole planet. Like, this is not a thing. They dangerous, and we need to be preparing for this. It don't take but like, I swear it's only like an hour. Like, I feel like she was only home for like an hour before he came.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she didn't get to change clothes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, that's about all she did get to do was change clothes. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think now she's in a place where she has to feel that anger is now coming from a place of her feeling like she wasn't doing what she was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
What she was told to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Her mother was trying to protect her. So, but continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, nah, you're good. So, so of course after everything goes down, Shuri finally gets there. You know, her Riri and all them, Riri's already there, so they put the kimono beads on Riri and the Queen to try to see if they can revive them back. Riri, of course, comes to, but the Queen never does. Personally, I didn't think this was going to happen. I didn't think they were going to do this, but I feel like this, in order for her to become, I guess, the next leader, to become Black Panther, I think they needed the extra motivation to put that through. So we end up having the second funeral in this movie, which, was like, I'm like, Jesus. We did one at the beginning of the movie, one just a little over midway through. And, Shuri, now the opposite way, Shuri is all alone. The same way the Queen had said, my whole entire family's gone. It's now Shuri really that's in that position now.
It's a through line. She's Wanda now.
Mm-hmm.
She's Wanda.
Yeah.
This is the closest thing to this in the MCU is Wanda. Like, there's a through line of like where Phase 4 started and where we are now at the end of Phase 4.
Mm-hmm.
And Shuri literally having lost every person, everybody that she had technically that's actual family is gone, and she's hot, bro. She's very much on a Wanda kind of movement in this moment.
That is definite. And like after, during the funeral, M'Baku comes up to her, to trying to have a little conversation with her. And, he tells her, I promised your brother that, I would protect you, I would look out for you, and I would advise and give you advice on what should be done or what you need help with. And, he asked her what he thought needed to be done, but he also asked, what does your heart say? And that was that moment that we saw that rage that was built up. But she at least did acknowledge to M'Baku, they were going to move, I don't want to say refugees as of right now, because like I know the city's kind of in bad shape, but they were going to move all of them under M'Baku's care, at least for the foreseeable time, to make sure the people of Wakanda are safe. And, she acknowledged that. But, she was ready for revenge, that she wanted this dude dead. She wants Namor dead. Now, because of all this is now what sparks something that her mom tried to, talk to her about at point in time. and that was trying to figure a way of bringing the Black Panther back and trying to recreate the purple herb to give the abilities back. Riri came alongside, is like, I'll help you however I can. She's just same level of genius intellect that you'll probably get right now, and she works through it. Shuri does work through it, and after trial and error, still we don't know exactly how much time passed in her doing that, but eventually she's able to reproduce the herb. And of course, even though computer simulation, whatever, said that everything, it was a 98% match that it was going to actually work. And they was like, well, once it's created, the only way for us to know if it's truly there, it should glow. It did glow, and now her, Riri, and Nakia are in her lab, and they're performing a pseudo ritual version of what they would do for the Black Panther to instill the abilities and have her, go to the astral plane to speak to the ancestors in order to, accept the powers. And Nakia asks, do you want me to, bury you in the sand, the whole typical thing? And she's like, no, like, I need you to be able to make sure if I go in like cardiac arrest, you can bring me out of this. And Riri's thinking like, oh,
what?
You serious?
Like, man, y'all play too much, dog. That's how I feel like Riri is like, man, y'all play too much.
And she took them kimono beads and put them those right on her chest, like, oh, you serious?
Hey, bro, I want you to know they're kimono beads. They're not kimono beads. Because kimono is like a Japanese, like
yeah. But they go through, they start the ritual, and everything looks like it's going according to plan. She drinks the herb in its liquid form. We see the purple, flowing through her veins. We're like, yo, this is looking pretty legit. And when she wakes up in the astral plane, she's in like the throne room of Wakanda. She comes up out of water, ironically, where her mom passed that. So, initially I'm like, oh, it looks like, I know it's a kind of a messed up way, but it looks like she is going to meet her mom. It was a part of me that somehow, in some shape or form, I don't know how they were going to do that, T'Challa was going to show up, even if it was just like an image, like she sees her brother for like a second and then maybe it just goes away or something like that. But she sees the throne, and of course the throne is in front of her, so the back of the throne is to her, and she sees that someone is sitting in it, so she starts to walk around, and all of us thinking that it's gonna be someone that she loves. But she gets to the front of this, and I'm gonna say, holy shit, it was Killmonger. I did not see that coming at all.
No, I just knew it was gonna be moms. The audience went off though.
Oh, the audience went off. But I will tell you, once you saw him, I don't know about you, but I was like, this is that rage that we've been seeing building up this whole entire time. And I was like, I didn't think this was going to be what the rage would end up leading to, but she has a whole conversation about with Killmonger, about what truly needs to be done. And, he asked, are you going to be able to either take the same path that your brother did? Because she was like, he was naive, he was always trying to save and do this, but in the end of it, he was naive. Or are you going to be like me? Are you going to be like me and get the job done? And I really thought at that point, like, I thought somebody, whether it was her mom, somebody was going to come out and intervene and kind of help her and put her on the right path. But of course, that didn't happen at all. What did y'all think about that whole entire scene?
I thought it was dope. Throwing Killmonger in there, a nice little twist. I enjoyed their conversation about you're more like me than you want to admit. You know what I mean? Like I came in, I got the job done. You know what I mean? That's what you need to do, and I really enjoyed that twist and their discussion. I enjoyed that. What about you?
I mean, they gave her. He said, like, you asked for me to be here. This is what you wanted. And it's a little crazy to think that she's like shocked by that. You know what I mean? Like she's angry. And that's why she's in that situation. And now she's more angry because she didn't get to see her mother. She didn't get to see her brother. She didn't get to but I think more importantly in that exchange is him asking her, like, why'd you take it? You don't even believe that the astral plane exists, so why'd you take it? You know what I mean? You took it because you wanted to see if it exists, you know? Nah, you took it because you want the power because you want revenge. That's why you took it. You know what I mean? Because, right, she don't believe in none of that stuff. She don't believe in the astral plane. She doesn't believe in the ritual. She doesn't believe in, like, she told her mother when they sat down on the beach, like, you didn't see him, mother. That was your mind messing with you, trying to make you feel better about whatever. Like, she tried to, use technology and, what she knows about the human brain and stuff like that to kind of just to speak it away. Mm-hmm. And her running into Killmonger was a double take for her. Not only does it prove to her that the astral plane does actually exist because she does see somebody, but it also shows her that she's not in control, right? Like, a lot of this is about her being in control. She's angry because she didn't have control over helping her brother to save his life. She didn't have control over that. She didn't have control over saving her mother. She wanted to try to save her. They're holding her back. She's trying to get to her mother. She doesn't have that control. She believes that the technology that she has, by having Griot, her AI, like she even says to her mother, like, AI isn't just some rogue thing. Like, it does what I tell it to do. Which is like, again, this is somebody who has lived through Ultron. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, and has worked with Vision. Like, literally worked on Vision. But still somehow has it in her own head that she's completely in control of everything because she controls technology. And this is proof to her that she doesn't have that, which I think just further angers her because she doesn't want to relinquish control to something that is outside of her hands. And that's what this does. Not only does she not get to see technically who she wants to see in the astral plane, she's proven that something she doesn't believe exists does exist, so you don't have control over that. You don't have control over who it shows to you. It shows you who you need to see, or technically who you wanted or needed to see, because she took it in a moment of vengeance and in a moment of anger. Like, yep, this actually needs to work because I'm finna use this joint. If this works, like in her head when she takes it, it's kind of like, oh man, I really hope this works. But it's also like, yo, if this works, I'm gonna kill Namor. I'm gonna kill this dude. And that's where she is. So like, her seeing Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan showing up is like, but it's also, for me personally, it was confirmation that they didn't like take his body and just like stick that joint in a spot like they had Bucky in for like a year or whatever while they worked on him or whatever. Like they did, I guess, actually maybe sprinkle his ashes over the same ocean that Talokan is in. Because my man straight up said at the end of the joint, sprinkle my joint over the oceans when my ancestors died. Oh, so they just sprinkle some Killmonger all over Talokan. All right.
Pretty much.
That's what's up. It all comes back. It's full circle.
Full circle.
I enjoyed it, dog. I thought it was dope. And to see her be so angry. It wasn't a path I expected her to go down. You know what I mean? As a character. in this movie. It's not the path I was expecting to see. So I thought it was a dope twist.
Dig it. And of course, when she woke up, you know, she was like, you know what? It didn't work. She was sure that because she saw Killmonger, it didn't work, and she got mad. And she punched one of the things that normally will hold one of the suits, and that thing went flying and went into the wall. And everyone, I was like, oh, it worked.
Yeah, it worked, man.
It most certainly worked, right?
Yeah, and the kid said, I think you're gonna need a suit. And Riri said, I got some more of that Kool-Aid though. Go ahead, let me get some of that purple Kool-Aid. What flavor is that? That's heart-shaped herb flavor Kool-Aid. Hey dog, listen to me right now. If Kool-Aid don't get
what
with
Marvel and do the Black Panther,
do some heart-shaped, boy, if they don't make some purple Kool-Aid, bro.
Just bring back Purple Source Rex and just name it Wakanda Forever.
That
Whatever.
purple punch, bro. Yeah, they
now also marketing. I don't know who missed it. I don't know if it was Marvel that missed it.
Listen, if they could sell Ecto Cooler, you're not gonna tell me they couldn't sell some Wakandan punch.
Easy.
Some actual punch.
G Fuel or one of the gaming. Hey, they need a partner with Marvel, and
they slipped on that one, dog. They slipped on it, yeah. Which also made me think to myself, yeah, you can simulate the herb now. Yeah, I need to do like Tyler Khan. Everybody
get a sip. You get a sip.
What?
You get a sip.
Everybody should have got some of that. You know,
because at that point, right now that would have put everybody on a even playing field.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But by that time, of course, it's happened. She has the power. She has the ability. She needs a suit now. And this gives us a moment to once again kind of go back through memory lane. We see the different Black Panther helmets that T'Challa wore. One, if I'm not mistaken, one was the Civil War outfit helmet that was there, and then one of them, I believe, was the one from like Infinity War Endgame when he came back. But after we passed through the two of them, there's a third one. It's the one that Shuri's going to don, of course. It has the similarities of merging both the traditional Black Panther suit and Killmonger's suit that he wore, with both the silver and the gold accents that you could see on there for it.
And it has her funeral wear.
Going around it. So it was pretty cool to see like these fusions of different things going into one. So like clearly there's some memento things that are in that suit, even though, you know, she's in her rage, she's angry, she still has these moments that she puts into that suit for it. And then of course there's other suits being built. Before we jump back to the over to the Jabari tribe, there's other suits and things that are going to be built. But we fast forward back over to the Jabari tribe, where M'Baku, the elders, and everybody currently are now residing, and pretty much trying to figure out what to do and what are they going to do with Namor. Because at this point, clearly they know that he's a threat, and there's nothing really that they can do at this point. And of course, a ship shows up overhead. We get a Black Panther that jumps out, and you know everyone is ecstatic to see that Shuri is the Black Panther, and of course to establish the fact that she has the powers of the Black Panther, her and M'Baku do like an air arm wrestling match.
Yeah,
and
a little weird, but
I don't know. I just thought it was
a little
weird.
It was almost like a salute, like let's shake hands.
I thought it was just gonna be a dap. I just thought it was the dap.
It was a strength dap. It was like a strength test dap.
And clearly he wasn't expecting it at first, and she just went, and it's like, oh yeah, she the real thing. She the real thing right here.
She got the herb back, yeah.
And you know they start having the whole conversation, and then it gets to the point where it ends up just being Shuri and M'Baku in there having a conversation, and you know this is where once again we see that rage, that Killmonger side start to show back up, and she's like, listen, I want that dude dead. and I'm gonna do it. And Mbaku's kind of like, just Usai pump the brakes, but it's like at the end of the day, he's gonna do what she asked to be done. To defend Wakanda is what he's really looking for, but he tries to, make her understand that.
You try to talk her down.
Yeah, that killing him is not gonna bring anybody back, and you're just gonna go down this path and you're gonna get stuck in it. But she's at this point right now, she's ready to kill this dude, and
she's like, I'm gonna kill him, and you gonna help me, like and you gonna do it. That's basically like where she was. Like, he asked, like, let me get a moment with her, just me and her, so he tried to talk her down. And he tried to explain. He's like, listen, I don't. You talking about waging an eternal war,
right?
You talking about waging a war that's not going away. Like, I don't want that for my kids. I don't want that for my people. I don't want my people to be at war for the rest of their lives. Like, that's what you're talking about doing. She was like, you know what? You right. And we're gonna do it anyway, dog. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just. She's like, yeah, nah, dog. Slim, I got this, but I got this power now.
Nah, she ain't want to hear nothing. Nah, she wants him dead. That's all she cared about.
Yep.
So at this point now, they got to formulate a plan, and they initially don't know exactly what it is they're gonna do to pull and lure Namor back out into the open, because we know there's no way they're going to be able to go to Talokan and fight them. That is just not.
Yeah, he gave him 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He told them. He said I'm pretty sure he said in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, I'll be back. Mm-hmm. And y'all better be ready to join up or get whopped.
Yeah. So they had to take it to him. So they had to figure out a plan. They figured something out, and but in the meantime, they're getting prepared. We get to see Riri, kind of in another Tony Stark moment. She's building her suit. We see her doing, got the hammer, banging away, trying to build the suit. I'm pretty sure at this point that whole suit's vibranium, which is pretty dope.
It is. Yeah, that's why they didn't let her keep it.
No, the moment I saw the suit, I was like, oh, she ain't keeping that. I was like, there was no way they were gonna let her hold it. That literally would have been the exact same Tony Stark. Hey, I made you a new suit. Here, take it and go. But the suit wasn't made of vibranium. But and then of course, Okoye is not a part of the door anymore. But she's gonna get involved, because she's gonna protect Wakanda. I forget the name of what the suit was.
Remember that ugly suit?
It had a name
for the Midnight Angels.
Yeah. And she was like,
Midnight Angels is a thing in the comics.
Yeah.
It's they're like an offset of the Dora. That came, like, Dr. Doom actually managed to steal all the vibranium in Wakanda, and T'Challa put together like a group of the Dora, who are like the top tier. They're like the best of the Dora, and they become the Midnight Angels. It's actually led by the one who played like the Doctor, Aneka, the one who like who Okoye went to. Like in the comics, she basically led them. And again, they're kind of like an offshoot of the Dora, but they're like the best of the Dora.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so we got suits all around, and like that's another theory. Like I don't know, this whole armor wars thing. I don't know about. I feel like there's like small pieces of that we're starting to see, that everybody is getting like suits of armor and stuff. I could just be reading too much into that now, but
I mean, the fact they turned it into a movie instead of a show is weird to me. But
yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of armor being thrown around now, so we'll find out. But so we see everything's forming up there. We go back to Namor, and he gets the message that they digging for vibranium again. with the machine. You know, he's like he takes the squad, and they go out. They find the machine, and they come find out. You know what? It's a whole trap. And, you know, that thing emits like the same type of thing that they were using against everybody, like the people on the first rig in Wakanda to make them go in that trance. They just make one that just annoys, like it just makes their ears, so they have to go up above water. And the moment they come up above water, Wakandans had cloak ship just chilling there waiting for him. And of course, Shuri's at the top of the ship, and she hits the chant to rally everybody together. Another one of those moments that another one of those moments, I was like, okay, whoa, I was waiting. And this is where the wreckage starts to ensue at this point. And I know, Sen, I know this is the part where I know me and you have a small part. It's like where you were talking about, Gage, earlier on with the zombies, how they just came back. It didn't bother me until we got to the end, because it finally hit me. I was like, wait a minute, they're gonna fight all these dudes and they're just gonna keep coming back. It didn't hit me until we got to the end during that fight. But of course, everybody's involved in the fight. Riri Williams spent to take on Namor at a point, and part of me was like, I don't know if this is how you want to start. Like, I know they say go for the biggest dude in the yard, you know, like when you're fighting, but I don't know if this is how you want to start things out. But I will admit, though, she got a couple of good shots in on Namor that I was not expecting.
She managed to piss him off.
Oh, just a little bit. But clearly there was a plan. We've seen the conversation between Shuri and Riri earlier on, trying to figure out what it is they could do to stop Namor, because he's just too strong. And they had to put two and two together. Like, they know, obviously, you know, he's made the statement about being a mutant. But they know, you know, underwater, unlike the rest of his people, you know, he doesn't need an apparatus or anything to come to the surface and breathe or be underwater. He just stays exactly the same on both land and when he's in the water. And then the plan just came out, you know, we need to dry him out. Like, I don't know. I thought that was kind of just too...
Nah, they specifically spoke about the fact that he
That makes
went
sense to me.
back into the water.
Yeah.
Came back out. Like, he went back and almost like recharged himself before he came back out. Like, they specifically talk about that.
Had to drain the moisture out of him.
Yeah. So I thought that was ironic of a fish. They're like, yeah, we just need to dry him out. But they figured that out. Figured out a plan for it. You know, even though I saw Riri going at Namor, clearly there was a plan involved with it, and it was to figure out how to get this man on board one of the Wakandan ships that they had suited with these special rays that would pretty much dry his skin out. Eventually were able to subdue him, get him on the ship. Shuri, of course, got in that ship, and I don't know. I was mad that this fight was about to just occur on the inside of the little small ship and was just going to be confined in there. But like,
and Namor said, "No, I tear this whole thing apart." Don't play with me.
I was about to be a little upset if that's how it went down, but you know, once he had a spear, he ended up blowing, like, the whole ship essentially just disintegrated. Shuri was telling the AI, of course, we need to get the ship to the desert. Obviously, it makes sense. Desert would be the next driest place that you could have that will probably dry them out the exact same way. Probably before they could get to the true area of the desert, the ship ended up, of course, because of Namor, just falling to pieces, like right on the shores of where they were trying to get to on there. And
Mission failed.
And so we had that. I don't know if you want to call that a big battle between Shuri and Namor. I don't know about y'all. That fight just didn't. It just didn't melt well for me. Did y'all feel the same way?
The fight was cool. It was the end of the fight that I hated. How she defeats quote unquote Namor. When she does the whole Wakanda Forever and burns with the thing. I was like, no, run that back. No, that was cheesy. Like, don't just do that and scream out Wakanda Forever. That part threw me out of it. Like, all right, that was bad. That was cheesy.
I was that part, like when she, he impaled her with the spear and he was gonna try to make his way back. I'm like, okay, she's gonna come back. We're gonna have another little battle, but I get it.
When she cut his little winglet off his ankle, that looked like it hurt.
Oh no!
Oh, he screamed.
Oh, what?
Bloody murder. He like,
I almost grabbed my ankle and see like,
But they have a Peter Griffin moment out here. But yeah, that.
I mean, look, my theater kind of like when he ran her through with that spear.
Oh, we lost it. I was like, wait a damn minute.
People started crying all around me. I'm like, hey, hold up, y'all just want to kill off the whole family in this movie?
Everybody died, yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess Nakia about to be the Black Panther. Like, I don't know. Where's Riri? I'm thinking, listen, I thought maybe Riri gonna show up, fly over the joint or something, and it was. Listen, she needed to do it herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fight wasn't bad. It did end corny. It was a pretty lackluster ending. You know what I mean? For her to just like blow up the ship or whatever, like use the ship's thruster. I don't know, dog, because after that happened, they flew back together like a tag team, and I don't know who went and picked them up because their ship was blown up.
That was another ship. That was a whole other ship.
I don't know where, but jokes. Where did that ship come from? Who went and got them? Because everybody else was fighting, dog. Everybody was fighting, bro. I don't know. Like the Grio
just did it again, and another one powered up somewhere, and just.
I mean, I can appreciate it. Like, yo, I gotta get Slim to the beach, but I can't beat this man if I don't get him. He gotta go to the beach. And he's like, Slim, I got to get some water, dog. I got to get back to this.
I am thirsty.
Ooh, I am famished, and I need.
Woo.
Yeah, you are. My man was bleeding out his little wing, and yeah, I didn't. I mean, I thought that was cool. I mean, look, the Wakandans was definitely overpowered. Like they thought they had it.
Yeah.
Namora bust a little vibration sound thing they had, and all of a sudden, here come the whales, bro. And I was like, oh, it's over.
It's over.
It's over.
Big old humpback whale.
Now.
I was like,
what? As soon as them joints started coming through, I said, look, they showed up with their siren song. Wakandans was just jumping off stuff. Oh no. They doing it again. I mean, they was putting up a good fight, bro, but I just felt like, why was the top of that ship so small? And like, it just wasn't no space. I don't know, dog. The whole end of the joint, like the CG on it wasn't great. It looked like they was on blue screen. All the joint, the whole end of that joint was like, okay. We had an issue with money. We did some reshoots. We had to fix some things, change some stuff. Every joint on that ship, dog, was like, hey, dog, why is this so fake? Why does it look so fake? Why does it look like the end of Black Widow right now? Like, It just was like, okay, well. And, I appreciated that they gave Okoye a moment again with a tumor for them to like face off again. They had a good fight. I was enjoying that fight. I thought that was dope. It was cool, but it just, it felt like they got to this climax and they just weren't positive what the best way to bring it to a close was. And so they just was like, all right, let's just have them kiss and make up at the end and be friends. You know what I mean? And then just kind of come back like, so yeah, everybody go home. Like, Namor just said, all right, y'all. Everything's good now. Y'all gonna go home.
That was the other part I didn't like when they pull up. You know, Namor rouse his troops. All right, y'all, it's over. He said his little chant. They all get down and do it back. And she goes, Wakanda forever. I'm like, no, that's what you're supposed to do. The T-bomb-bay. And they're supposed to chant it back. Like, should have did that. But the Wakanda forever didn't.
But she couldn't because she had one hand holding on, so she couldn't use both hands to even do the joint. It wasn't right.
Yeah.
I just felt like that wasn't the place to do
just to do the E-bomb-bay and let everybody chant it back. They did that chant. Let's do ours. Let's just.
Nah, because Bombay is when they getting ready to go fight. You don't say that when the fight's over. That would have been wrong. That definitely would have been wrong.
It would have sounded better at that moment. That's all. It just would have sounded better.
You have to end the movie by saying the name of the movie.
She did that when she turned on the jet engine on Namor.
I know she'd already done it once, and that was probably supposed to be the end. Who knows, dog? Like, I don't know. Somebody made a rewrite at the end and was like, "Well, we have to have them appear together. How are we gonna save the Wakandans that are on top of the ship?" Like, I don't. It's one of them things, man. I don't. The ending of this movie is saved by Shuri going to visit Nakia.
Another one of them.
Period.
In the gut.
Quiet. In the gut. It's quiet. You can hear a pin drop in there, and you can feel it at the same time. Once again,
It was great. Hearing Rihanna sing the song.
Oh, when that song came on, I was
having her finally take the time to burn, like, for her to go to her and say, I think I'm ready. Everything's ready. You can do it. And she's like, the fact that she was accepting of, let me do the tradition. Let me, she is the queen, right? Or at least she's supposed to be.
Right.
Hey, here comes your Black Panther. Nope. Oh,
I'm here to challenge for the throne.
Regards, but I am here. So I like that. I do like that. It's like, all right, he's about to challenge for the throne. He'll be the person that is the king of Wakanda. Like, nobody gonna be Slim. So he's about to be the king of Wakanda, which is dope. And she gets to go on being a Black Panther, and that I think is dope. I think that works. You know what I mean? For me. So I thought that was cool. Her going and being accepting of, like, let me try to follow some tradition because I've been bucking it and fighting it, and I do know the astral plane actually exists. Let me go try to get a moment, you know what I mean, and have that. And so, yeah, that moment of her stopping and putting the clothing on the bonfire, she was supposed to burn her funeral clothes anyway, and she didn't, and then she ended up having to wear them again for her mother's funeral. So this burning was a double. It was for her brother and for her mother. And so her saying, I think I need to do this by myself, I thought was cool. But then the way that joint is interrupted, bruh.
Oh. Jump punch after jump punch.
Oh man.
Hey, before that mid credit scene hit, the Rihanna song played. I tell you, it was the same silence that was in the beginning when they did the Marvel run that was on it. Normally, by the time you get to that end of the movie, most people, we're in there either applauding or like it was just complete silence. And part of me, I was like, as much as I typically want an after credit scene from a Marvel movie, I was like, if you just end it there, I think I'm okay. Because I was like, I didn't want it to be an after credit scene that like built like the next MCU movie or something like that. I felt that would have just like taken away from the ambiance and what it did. And then we get to the scene that broke everybody in the theater.
Yeah. So you see Nakia walking up on the beach with little man. I was like,
oh my god. I was like,
come on, bro. Like You gonna kill us before we leave this movie. Just keep hitting us with these things, man, back to back.
I looked at Tatiana in the theater, and I was like, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. If they say that this child's name is T'Challa Jr., I'm gonna lose it.
Did you lose
I
it?
guess you lost. Oh, you know he lost it.
I was like, but
My man's name was Toussaint, which is also dope.
mm-hmm.
And he said, well, my real name is Prince T'Challa, son of T'Challa.
I was like,
I heard so many people they couldn't hold it back no more. Had to just let it out.
Yeah. And she said, like, when she asked, like, did my mother meet him? She was like, yeah. She knew about him. We decided, your brother and I decided it would be better for him to be raised away from the pressure, away from, all of that. Like, we made that decision together. And so, it kind of sheds a little bit of light on the idea that, like, she didn't run. And that also meant that, like, if she had shown up to the funeral, she would have had to bring him. She would have had to bring him. But that they had already had that conversation, that she was aware that he was sick. She was the only one that was aware that he was sick. And his son was aware that he was sick. And they were prepared for his death already. Even though nobody else was. They were. Because he told them. He let them know. And so they had already kind of mentally prepared themselves for it. But if she shows up to the funeral and shows up with this child, what does that do? That's an upheaval. Like, what does that do to Wakanda? What does that do when it's like, yo, hold on, because he's the king. He can't be Black Panther.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what does that do? So, it just kind of put a lot of stuff in perspective, and they did I think a great job of using the fact that she wasn't around for what was going on with Thanos and what was going on. She left right after that. She was pregnant.
Couldn't be doing all that.
Yeah, at the end of that first movie, you see them together, and then that's that pan up, it's that kiss, and then it's that pan up, and it was like, oh, all right.
Prince T'Challa was born the second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I said it straight up, like, I need to introduce you to your nephew. She hit the what?
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah. So, I don't know if her mother didn't meet him until she came to see her, which is possible.
She'd known before that.
Yeah, I don't know if she knew before that, because there's almost a part of me that might have felt like she wouldn't have asked her to go get Shuri if she had known. No, like at least before that. You know what I mean? But yeah, so yeah, man, tough, but good ending. I look. I'm glad they broke Ross out. CIA don't have him. But what does that mean? Gonna take him back to Wakanda, and he gonna be hiding in Wakanda. Does that mean
he gonna be Bucky too?
The Thunderbolts are coming after Slim?
I think we find out in the Thunderbolts.
I think we may see a piece of that beforehand.
Definitely possible. We'll see. So wrap it up, Jokes.
So, y'all, this has been your spoiler boys for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. This was a doozy the whole way through, but are we still on board with our same scores? I still got my 9. Sin, you still in the same place?
I am still at a 9, yes.
Gage, you said 7, 8. Where are you sitting?
I'm still sitting at a 7, though. They left me hanging with that. Man, them undead dudes, man, them environments coming back to life, dog. That's witness protection for me.
It's witness protection.
Somebody got to
listen. You're gonna have
the end of it was like, and like the ending, like they lost it. Like, if the ending, I could forgive that if the ending had been clean. The ending's not clean, bro. It's not. Like, Joe, you can give it a 9 if you want to, but you don't like the ending. It's getting padding because it's so sad, right? And I get that. Like, I know, like the after credit scene and there's some cleanup there, but like without like the after credit joint,
I
You
would
know
go
what I mean?
to
Or
an 8.
whatever. Like
I would say without it, I would be an 8, but
it
I
doesn't
still-
quite. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just, yeah, I'm at a 7. I think for real, where I'm sitting at is, I thought it was a good movie. I don't think I liked it better than Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi was an 8 for me. I think Shang-Chi was a better movie. I think through and through from beginning to end, just there was a lot they had to do in this movie. There's a lot they had to clean up. You're trying to introduce an entire race of people and explain an origin story, and there's a lot going on. You got to deal with the death of Chadwick. You have to, figure out how and who's going to be a new Black Panther. Like, there's so much that's going on in it. That at moments it does feel slightly disjointed, and again, I feel like the ending just didn't quite come together well. I think considering the task at hand, they did a phenomenal job, and it's hard to use the word phenomenal and talk about how much I did enjoy this movie and still give it a 7. But I have to be honest about that. I do. I think that, like, when I look at all of Phase 4 and what's been going on in Phase 4, for this to be the cap to Phase 4, I think is solid, but I think that Shang-Chi was a better movie. I think it was put together better. I think from beginning to end, it was a cleaner film. And I think I enjoyed it just like that much more. Chadwick's passing notwithstanding, like, I can't give it extra points because of that. I don't think that's necessarily fair, even though that is a thing they had to deal with as filmmakers and writers and so forth, having to top the last one. There's a part of me that feels like, and take this how you want, they would have had actually a harder time topping the first film if Chadwick was still alive. If they was able to just move forward with Chadwick as Black Panther and didn't have, a lot of what people are feeling about this movie is the emotion that is specifically tied to the loss of Chadwick and what he meant to all of us as a community, and how there's a through line with that into what he meant to the MCU and as Black Panther. You kind of have to take some of that out of it in terms of looking at the movie and what the movie is. So yeah, there are some outside influences that, have an effect on it. But I feel like a lot of people and where they're sitting and how they feel about this movie has so much more to do with how they feel about Chadwick and the loss of Chadwick than it does about the movie and how good the movie actually is. And it's super difficult to separate those things from one another, but to a certain extent, I think you kind of have to. I can't go into it with just like, again, like that part of me that feels like this joint is only better than Shang-Chi because of all the emotion I had tied to Chadwick, like shedding tears and feeling like I don't think that's fair to other films. I just think when I look at it, I think that for all the movies that are part of this, it's probably No Way Home, Shang-Chi, and then Black Panther. And you know what I'm saying, as far as like what that list is for like and then Doctor Strange probably. You know what I mean? Under that. And so I think, I think a 7 is where I'm at. I mean, I could maybe flex to an 8, but I'm still sitting at a 7 right now. I might feel differently after I see it again, and I probably will see it again before the end of this week. But
same here.
7 is where I am. I'm trying not to give it bonus points. Again, I love how they handled it because I think that's the thing they had to do. So yeah, I think it's 7.
Dig it. So 9 for me, 9 for Sin, 7 for Gage.
You said 9 Sin or 8?
No, you said 9.
Okay. Okay.
2 9s and a 7.
Oh yeah, 9. Okay, cool.
Gotcha. So with that, we're gonna wrap up this episode of Spoiler Boys for you. Make sure keep dialed in for our next edition when it comes out. But until then, we shall catch you later.
Loading snacks.